So you want to get better answers from an AI? Well, it's not some kind of dark art. It's actually a craft, a skill that you can learn. It's called prompt engineering, and today we're going to crack open the toolbox and show you exactly how it's done.
All right, let's just jump right in with this idea because it's so important. This isn't about needing a PhD or being a coding wizard. The bottom line is, if you can ask a question, you can write a prompt. The journey from beginner to pro, it's a lot shorter than you might think.
And that's the real question, isn't it? I mean, that's the real difference between getting some generic, kind of useless response and actually unlocking the AI's full potential. And that's exactly what we're going to break down right now.
So here's the game plan. We're going to start by really understanding our core tool. Then we'll look at the dials we can turn to tune its brain. After that, we'll cover the basic tools, then the power tools, and we'll wrap it all up with a checklist you can use right away. All right, let's dive in.
Okay, first things first. If you're going to write a great prompt, you've got to understand what you're actually talking to. So what in the world is a large language model?
I want you to really focus on that phrase, prediction engine. That's the key to everything. See, an LLM isn't thinking like you and me. It's more like a super-powered autocomplete, a master pattern matcher that's read a huge chunk of the internet. It's literally building its response one word at a time, just predicting what comes next.
And that's where we come in. Our job isn't to program it, it's to guide it. A great prompt is all about giving it the perfect starting point so that its word-by-word predictions naturally lead to the answer we're looking for. We're basically setting it on the right track from the get-go.
Okay, so we get what the tool is. Now let's talk about the settings, because beyond just the words we type, we have direct control over how the AI behaves. You can think of these as the creativity dials on the machine.
The number one dial you need to know about is temperature. So if you turn the temperature way down, close to 0, the AI gets super focused and predictable. It's always going to pick the most obvious next word. This is perfect for, factual stuff, like summarizing a document. But if you crank that temperature up, you introduce a little bit of chaos, a little randomness. The AI starts to take chances on less likely words. And that's fantastic for creative things, like brainstorming ideas or writing a story.
And it doesn't stop there. We've got even more ways to fine-tune this. There are other settings, like top K and top P, that basically act like filters. Imagine the AI is thinking of, say, 1,000 different words it could say next. These settings let us narrow that down and say, hey, only pick from the top 10 most likely options. It's just another way to get that perfect balance between predictable and creative.
All right, we've got the theory down. Let's get our hands dirty with the actual techniques. These are the tools you're going to use all the time.
First up is the most basic tool in the box, zero-shot prompting. And zero-shot is just a fancy way of saying 0 examples. You just give the AI a command and expect it to figure it out. So in this example, we just tell it to classify a movie review. And boom, it gets it right. It says positive, even though the review has tricky words like disturbing. That's because it's seen millions of reviews before.
But, of course, zero-shot isn't always enough. I mean, what happens when you need something in a very specific format, like code, or the task is just a little too complex? Just telling it what to do won't cut it. You have to show it.
And that's where our next tool comes in, few-shot prompting. Here, the idea is simple. We give the model a couple of examples, a few shots, of exactly what we want. So with this pizza example, we show it a simple order and the clean JSON output we expect. It learns the pattern. Then, when we hit it with a much more complicated order, it knows exactly what to do and gives us that perfect JSON structure.
Okay, our next tool is one of my personal favorites, and it's seriously powerful. Role prompting. This is all about changing how the AI responds, not just what it says. You're basically telling it to put on a costume, to become a character, an expert, a pirate, whatever you need. And that shapes its entire voice.
And just look at the difference it makes. Instead of just getting a boring list of museums, when we say, act as a travel guide, the whole response changes. Suddenly, the output is helpful, it's engaging, it sounds like a real travel guide. It's such a simple tweak, but the impact on the quality is just massive.
Okay, so those are the basics. Now it's time to pull out the power tools. This is for when you need the AI to do some heavy lifting, some real complex reasoning.
So this brings up a really common problem. Why do these incredibly smart AIs sometimes fail at simple math or logic puzzles? Well, it's because they're trying to guess the answer in one shot. Remember, they're word predictors, not calculators. They're not solving it, they're predicting what the answer looks like.
And this is the perfect example of what goes wrong. We give it this word problem. It's not super hard. The AI sees the numbers 3, 3, and 20, and its pattern-matching brain just kind of spits out a number that feels right based on what it's seen before, 63, which is completely wrong. And it's wrong because it never actually tried to reason through the steps.
But now, watch this. All we do is add one tiny magical phrase. Let's think step by step. This is a technique called chain of thought prompting. What we're doing is forcing the AI to slow down and write out its thinking process first, and that process guides its own predictions. So it breaks it down. First, it figures out the partner's age back then. Then, it calculates how many years have passed. Then, it adds them together, and it gets the right answer, 26.
So, here's the big takeaway. By making the model show its work, you're not just getting a final answer. You're forcing it to build a logical path to that answer. This one little trick can make a huge difference for any task that needs logic or step-by-step thinking.
Whew. Okay, we have covered a ton of ground. So let's boil this all down into a super simple, actionable checklist that you can start using, like, right now.
All right, here we go. Your pro prompting checklist. First, always try to provide examples. That's your few-shot prompting. Next, be super specific about the output you want, like give it to me in valid JSON. Keep your language simple and clear. Don't try to be fancy. A huge one, tell the AI what to do, not what not to do. So instead of don't use jargon, say explain this like I'm 10 years old. Always experiment. Try asking a question versus giving a command. And last but not least, give the AI a role. Make it an expert.
So there you have it. We've just opened up the toolbox and laid out the core tools for prompt engineering. These aren't just tricks, they're techniques that can turn a simple chatbot into a seriously powerful creative partner. So I guess the only question left is, now that you have the tools, what are you going to build?